Hey, it's day 32 of the 40 Gameful Days of Summer. And what's the point today? Well, points. That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So, as I mentioned, we're going to dive into some of the common elements like points, badges, and leaderboards over the next few days. And today, we're talking about points, which is something that pretty much any learning system is going to have in some form. We need to measure their progress, we need to provide scores and unfortunately grades and all those kinds of things. Whether you're in academic institutions or the workplace, there's still going to be some sort of scoring that generally has to take place. So points, there's nothing wrong with them. We love points, they're great. But what I'd like for you to think about is how you are presenting them to the learner. So I'm going to give you one example today. There's a lot of different angles we could take this from. But years ago, I was in a college course, actually. And on the first day, the professor said, and I won't forget this, said, okay, you're all starting with 100 points. And basically it was ours to lose. Okay, what kind of position does that put the learner's mindset into? Well, immediately I'm in a defensive posture. It's like I have to protect my points. Oh my gosh, they're my points and I'm not losing them. And what do I have to do to not lose them? Notice there was nothing about learning in there. It was, how do I not lose my points? Well, obviously one way is to learn the material so that I do well on the test. But again, then the focus is all about protecting the points. It's not about learning things. Maybe I would, learn something that wasn't on the test that would be quite interesting, but instead I'm focusing on what exactly do I need to know. So what can we do instead? Well, what a lot of gamified classrooms do is they flip the whole thing around. And instead of starting with 100 points and working your way down, which does not sound motivating at all, you start with 0 and you work your way up. Wow, what a difference. So when you start with that sort of idea, it opens up all sorts of different possibilities, because now I'm no longer tied to this 0 to 100 scale. I could still use that, and yes, quite often we have to translate those numbers into a letter grade or something like that, or a pass-fail situation, but it opens up different possibilities for the learner exploring. Aside from just, each activity being a certain number of points and you have to earn enough points to pass, you can offer alternative activities. You could have maybe sort of the safer activity. Maybe you have 5 questions, they're worth a point each, so you can get 5 points by taking a sort of traditional quiz to test if you've, covered the material, if you understand the material. Or maybe you have a choice between taking the quiz or doing a different activity, which might be a little more challenging in some ways. Maybe it stretches your creativity. Maybe it just is a little more abstract. It's a little harder. Even if it's not any harder, it might be worth, let's say, a maximum of 10 points. Okay, so now the learner gets to choose, okay, am I going to play it safe, and maybe this is not a topic or a part that I feel that comfortable with yet, so I'm going to stick with the safer bet for now, and then, if I have a student who is more advanced, who is looking for a challenge, they're going to take the 10-point activity, and then even if they don't score all 10 points, that's okay. That's all right. Maybe they only get 7. They still came out ahead. They still got 2 points more. So there's all sorts of activities you can play with that. You can also have different point structures. I've seen a lot of people use 2 different scales. One that is strictly for assigning grades. So test scores go into sort of one bucket, and then they have another bucket where you can earn points that can earn you some little perks along the way. Maybe you earn points that you can trade in for a hint on an activity or even on a test. Sort of like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, you can phone a friend, or the 50-50 where you can knock off some of the wrong choices. You can do all sorts of different things. And those points don't have to apply to the grade necessarily. Maybe it's points you trade in for an opportunity to turn an assignment in a day late. or gives you some other sort of, oh my gosh, you could come up with anything. I'm not going to give you all the answers. I want you to come up with some answers. And I want you to tell me what you come up with and what kind of points and scoring systems you're using. So that's just something to think about for today, about what's the point of points. So I will see you again tomorrow. Until then, stay curious, be gameful, and I'll see you. Bye.